And welcome back to Unleashed. I'm your host, Dave Roberson. Here we go. Jeremiah 29, verse 11. God says to reaffirm Jeremiah and his posture with Israel. He says, I know the plans that I have for you. Plans not to harm you, but plans to prosper you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Plans to give you hope and a future. So God's plans for us is some good stuff. We all have God-given destinies that he has already made a plan for us to reach it. The fact that he says future deals with our destiny. So let me list a few things for you to keep in mind. Number one, God's plan is fail-proof. He sees all, he knows all, even before there was a beginning. God set it all up. Number two, God doesn't alter, God doesn't tweak, God doesn't adjust or readjust his plan. He doesn't need to. Why? Because number one told us it's fail-proof. Number three, God's plan is not conditional. You don't have to be good or be bad in order for his plan to come into your life. It doesn't warrant you, whether you like it or not, having to like God's plan. It's going to stay. It's firm. Whether you want it or not, whether you're ready for it or not, God's plan always remains. Number four, God's plan is specific to the individual. Just like we all have a different DNA, all of us have a different destiny. There's a different plan for all of us. His plan is individualistic. When he planned and designed me, he had one for me, and he did the same for you and everybody else. And lastly, number five, God's plan is accessible. It's readily accessible. You ask, you pursue, you follow the directives, and become. So let me rehearse these one more time before I shut it down. God's plan, number one, is fail-proof. Number two, God doesn't alter. He doesn't tweak. He doesn't readjust his plan no matter what you or I do, no matter what the world does. It remains the same. Number three, God's plan is not conditional. So if you mess up, it doesn't change God's plan. Number four, God's plan is specific to the individual. There is an individual destiny and an individual plan designed specifically for you. Doesn't look like anybody else's because it's yours. And lastly, number five, God's plan is readily accessible. You ask, you pursue, you follow the directives, and you become. All right, it's been real. Dave Roberson, gotta go. Let's do this again next week. Same time, same place. Bye-bye.